Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ask you to just be patient with me for a minute here while everything dials in and I get some lights on. So it's American Heart Month. 1 in 4 are dealing, or 1 in 4 deaths are associated to heart issues in the USA. It is the leading cause of death in the USA. And I've got a few stats here we will talk about today. But more importantly, you're here for some help with what you can do for some self-care tips. And I'm going to do a vibration plate workout with you guys today. Yes, I'm putting my notes up. If you are joining me today and you are one of those that are dealing with heart issues, please have a stool. I mentioned in the event. If you haven't actually gone into the event, if that's how you're joining me, there are a few things that I recommend having with you today if you are suffering symptoms like fatigue. You just lack wind. The stamina is not there. So a stool is something I will be using for exercises today, but it's also something that I recommend if you are just getting started on your vibration plate and you're pushing yourself, which is of course what we encourage you do. You got to push yourself to change the body. I'm just putting this in the VIP group. And if you're working out at home and you don't have support, it's important to make sure that you are realistic in where you are starting. So what I mean by that is understand your, speaking with your PT, perhaps there's some exercises that they've recommend for you to be doing as home exercises. That's one of the areas we are going to touch on today. I've always got my own ideas of what I think that you should be doing, but today I want to leave some time at the end. I am going to go over a few variations on some exercises. Some of you are in different health. We're all dealing with different levels of conditioning long before you had a heart issue. So there, I think I'm good to go. I want to remind you that the entire month is Heart Month. So I'm probably going to be doing a couple. Most of my sessions this month aren't necessarily what I would call heart related, but they are ideal workouts for this type of situation. So when you're dealing with heart issues, you're lacking stamina, you're lacking strength. According to the National Institute of Health, as I started off the session saying, heart disease leads, and it is 1 in 4 deaths every year is related to a heart-related illness. Studies do show that connecting with others at home or online, as we're doing today, help better motivate you. They make you feel accountable. We're not all good sometimes at the accountability piece, and New Year's just adds more pressure to the whole equation. So today it's not about resolutions. It's about those of you that are dealing with severe heart issues now, or perhaps it's something in your family history and you're being proactive. So I want to help you understand why a vibration plate is such a fabulous tool. I've also got, as you can see to the side of my vibration plate, I've got some hand weights today. Hand weights were another piece of equipment I suggested. If you did want to join me today, have a stool, have some weights if you do have at home. If you do not have weights at home, today I'm going to be talking a lot about, as John Hopkins and the National Institute of Health also suggest, there are some better exercises when you're dealing with heart health. Weights and resistant exercises are a great way. Building up your strength is really something that you want to focus on. The American Heart Association also recommends a combination of aerobic and resistance. Resistance, again, playing into the strength. The aerobic, I think, is where some of us struggle if we're dealing with heart issues. We don't have the lung function. We don't necessarily have the capacity, and we fatigue easily. And this is one reason, depending on what you've read, who you've talked to, I'm going to touch very briefly before we get shaking on contraindications. Contraindications are not contra absolutes. Contraindications are an indication to seek further clarity. So Life Pro has their standard, and many other companies also have contraindications. My personal contraindications are a lot more lenient because I have more experience, and I have a lot of experience dealing with many acute and chronic issues, whether it's heart disease, whether it's MS, whether it's diabetes. Many of the symptoms I'm going to be talking about today and showing you how to manage are related. So fatigue, weakness, poor sleep, poor food habits. There's a lot of things that we as people experience in common, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's associated to any one specific condition. So 6 of you are here, so I know that there's a few of you joining me. And many of you may also be dealing with other things. Maybe you're not just having heart issues. Maybe you've got diabetes on top of it. Maybe you've got some excess weight. Maybe you've got bone density concerns. So there's a lot of other benefits that you're going to get because you are increasing your activity. And all a vibration plate is it something that makes the activity easier. So circling quickly back to the contraindications. Contraindications, you're usually looking at those type of things because you're dealing with a concern. When it comes to vibration plates, my only true contraindication, I'm not going to get into a 2-hour lecture today. I will drop my contras in, and I've got a video that I'll drop here after the fact. But the only one that I very am cautious about is if you are currently dealing with known blood clots, or if you are at high risk of getting blood clots. Now, a vibration plate does not create blood clots. It is very good at increasing circulation and lymphatic movement. It is tremendously effective at doing that in a very short time. So if you are currently dealing with blood clots, if you are high risk of developing blood clots, if you have anything on the list of contraindications that on your equipment list, or one of the ones I've discussed today, you should, of course, absolutely speak first with your doctor, but not every doctor understands a vibration plate. All a vibration plate is a tool that makes exercise positions more effective in less time. So you're already dealing with fatigue. You're already dealing with weakness. If you are dealing with blood clots and your doctor, or you've had a conversation with someone like me that has cleared you or said, go ahead and use your vibration plate, please follow my 20 years of experience and keep your sessions brief and short in intensity. Any issues I run into with blood clots are always related to too much action. So you're going the full 10 minutes the first 5 times that you use it, or 5 times that day. You're standing very wide with your feet. Many of you see this in the manual and you see it in the pictures online, but guess what? There's more than one way to get active, and there's more than one way to use a vibration plate. We get hung up a lot of times in the settings and the programs, and we want to believe that this one is better for heart conditions. You know, what's the best program, Debby, for heart conditions? Or what's the best setting for heart conditions? There's no such thing. If you were to walk into your PT's office and say, what is the best exercise that I can do for my heart condition? First of all, they're going to take a look at you personally. Where are you starting at? What's your current level of conditioning? All of these things come into the effect. Maybe you're working with a trainer at the gym. There's all different kinds of equipment. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're all going to be the part of the recipe of your recovery plan or your heart workout plan. So a vibration plate would be great for things like some of the exercises that you're supposed to be doing at home already. When I say supposed to, the discipline piece is hard, guys, I know. And as I mentioned, if you're just joining me, studies have shown that if you connect with someone online, maybe you've got a workout buddy that you go walking with, or, you know, if you've got someone else to do the work with, because let's face it, exercise for many of us is work. They call it a workout, for crying out loud. I want you to start thinking about this more as symptom management, spot treatments. I want to start making you move and feel better. And the best place to do that is to start by building your energy. And if you are dealing with blood clots, I want you keeping your sessions short. I want you keeping your intensity low. And how I'm using the plate to show you to boost your energy is the same way I'd use it for a feel good symptom management session. So I'm seated on a stool. This is not going to be the entire routine, but for those of you that are dealing with fatigue, have it handy. If at any time I'm progressing too quickly or it's too intense for you, you've got to listen to your own limitations. Maybe you've got a bad knee. Maybe the lungs are fine, but your knees give it out on you. So have a stool handy, know your limitations, and we will build one day at a time. So I do all of my sessions in oscillating movement. Oscillating movement is the primary movement. It's what started it all. It's also more naturally preferred. It mimics how we walk. It wobbles us from side to side. Unfortunately, science has got to put all these names and confusing terms with it. So oscillating is also referred to as side alternating vertical. It's also referred to as pivotal. I'm sure there's other names out there, but it's the movement that is the first feature on your machine if you have a combo. The other reason I love using oscillating outside of it being most tolerable and most preferred by users is it's the one movement that all of Life Pro's plates offer. So anybody that's talking to me online and says, oh, I don't have oscillating in my Life Pro, yes, you do. So I'm working on the Rumblex Plus, as I always do. If you are dealing with acute or chronic issues, I always recommend a flat surface. It's more functional. Nothing wrong with a curved style, but right off the bat, curved presents a little bit more resistance. You got to work a little harder to remain in a good position. It's designed to challenge you. So keep that in mind when you're looking at the Rumblexes, and it can be overwhelming. If you're a chronic user, if you see yourself using it frequently for fitness and symptom management, go flat surface. It's how we walk across the floor, more natural. My feet are positioned hip width apart. I'm in manual oscillating mode, and I'm running at about 30, speed 30. My machine has 60 speeds. My approach, which isn't the best or the only, it's just my way of doing it because of the number of acute and chronic folks like yourself that I do support, especially if you're dealing with poor mobility, fatigue, balance, all those things. Forget exercise. You're just scared to stand on the thing. That's who I'm talking to. Feet hip width apart. I've been running about 2 minutes with my rambling here, and the purpose of this is just to sort of get the foundation of the body, the feet, the calves, the knees, the thighs, boost that circulation and lymph. And if you are dealing with heart issues, I haven't seen your personal recovery plan or what your PT recommends you to be doing for exercises, but I can almost bet there's something in there about keeping the calves strong. Why? You got a lot of blood flow and lymph flow that those calves, which are much smaller than further up the leg on the thighs. Most of us spend too much time sitting. So they got to do all the work, returning all the fluid. So it's a good idea if you are working on calf exercises. And if you're not, you should be preventative. Instead of just sitting here, I like to do things. So we're going to do some little foot pumps. And all I'm doing is I'm lifting the balls of my feet so my heels are on the surface of the plate. Then I'm rolling forward and I'm coming up onto the toes, doing like a mini calf stretch. Now, depending on your range of motion and your flexibility, things like that, this is also going to improve your balance and your stability before we get to the standing exercises. So if you do lack mobility, you're not very stable, it's a good idea to do a bit of a seated warm-up, just for the reasons I've explained. If you want to target upper body a little bit more, because let's face it, heart health is about keeping that circulation moving, flowing, but we're not getting as much direct on the upper body. If you've watched any of my seated sessions, you've seen this. We're going to take the elbows, and we're just going to lean over, and we're going to put them on the knees. Some of you find by adding the elbows, it's too much action, especially my ladies with all that bra and purse tension. So remember, it's not a speed, it's not a mode, it's about you and what feels best for the position you're doing and where you're at in the moment. So if it feels too intense, bring the feet a little bit closer to the center, reduce the amount of movement, the intensity, and that's going to make a big difference. A lot of times I hear comments where, oh, I never get beyond speed 10 or 11. Well, no, if you're really wide, this is really aggressive, especially for my ladies. Your head's rattling all over the place. Bring them closer and add the elbows again, and you'll feel the control. That's what I try to teach you guys with my nagging every session about the foot thing. You're always in control depending on how you feel in the moment. And if you're dealing with heart concerns, you get lightheaded, I want you to understand once you understand and know how to control your experience, the fear goes out the window. There's nothing to fear here but movement. And quite frankly, for many of you that are coming from a very, very poor, very deconditioned place, this gives you the ability to move when you can't move yourself. That's the biggest reason you need to start stepping up to your plate. So the next transition that we're going to do, so that was about 2 to 3 minutes. That's one example of, 2 to 3 minutes would kind of be my cutoff just to boost the energy. Maybe you're dealing with some swelling. Maybe you need to get more stable because you're going out for lunch with one of your kids. So 2 to 3 minutes is a short, purposeful session. It's going to boost the blood. It's going to give you, everything, that oxygen gets churning. It's going to give you energy. It's going to make you stable. If you want to exercise and you are coming from a place of fatigue, I don't want you doing too much right off the bat. It feels pretty good when you're using it. You've got this energy now that I've just given you. But if it's early in your day, I don't want to take away the energy that you do have and deplete you for the rest of the day. So if you are coming from a place of fatigue and you didn't do that routine because you're more comfortable standing, 2 to 3 minutes of standing on its own is another good way to boost the energy. But you're going to start building different benefits. So the first exercise we're going to practice is we're just going to stand. So same thing. If you're standing on this and it's scaring the heck out of you, you want to make sure those knees are slightly bent. The taller you bend, the more you drive the movement up here. The more you bend, the legs will start absorbing. Okay, so just like standing on the floor, this is easier than this. So when you get on this, your body tries to cheat. The body's really lazy. It doesn't want to make things more difficult. It doesn't want to challenge itself. That's why it spends its whole life compensating for things. So your body's always going to try and make it easier. So if at any time you feel it in the throat and the ears and the dentures too much, you've probably stood up a little bit without even realizing. So keep the knees a little bent. If at this point it's still a little too scary, I'm standing hip width apart, remember, you're always in control. Bring the feet closer to the center. You're reducing the intensity. The reason I like complementing closer feet with a faster speed, we're getting more movements per second. We're making those muscles react more times per second. It's just a quicker way for those of you that are dealing with fatigue, where we're not working on like endurance training and we're not working with long durations. I want to get those muscles fatigued and working as quickly as I can, but I don't want to deplete your capacity and leave you winded and having no energy. So if you're feeling comfortable with this, and you're not, if you do need something to hang on to, you're maybe not feeling stable, grab a chair, perhaps one with a back. I do have one with a back, but just to give yourself something to hang on to. Again, if you feel you're afraid and you're fatigued, have your chair behind you so you can simply sit down, okay? So the first one we're going to do is a very basic, as also recommended by the National Institutes of Health, American Heart Association, Johns Hopkins University Medicine. I've checked them all. The #1 best exercise for those of you that are dealing with heart issues, that's going to give you strength, stability. It's going to build it's going to actually give aerobic function. Is we're going to get into a little bit of a squat. Now, what the squat looks like for everybody is completely different based on how you feel, what your range of motion allows. If you're not stable and you sit too much, you're probably just going to be able to bend a little bit. But the goal is you want to feel those quads and those glutes firing. You shouldn't feel it too much in the shins and the top of the feet. If you are, it's that body of yours again trying to make it easier. What it does in loaded positions are where you're challenging yourself. You're not just standing there and going through the movements. Your body shifts forward to the toes. The heel is the point of contact that connects the movement to the rest of your body. So if your body can take some of the weight off the heels and shift to the toes, just play with that. Just rock forward, do it 1 foot at a time, lift 1 foot off, and just keep the toes on. There's nothing past the ankle. As soon as the heel hits, that's the contact point. So make sure the knees They can be in line, but you don't want them passing the toes, okay? If the knees are passing the toes or you look something like this, you got to work on the range of motion. I want a nice, straight, engaged core. What that means is we're not like this, okay? You want a nice little arch in that low back. You're probably done. If you're done, sit or stand up. But ideally, 30 seconds, if you can. If you're dealing with way below baseline issues, you might only last 5-10 seconds. Nothing's saying that you can't do lots of little reps. The total overall time I'm shooting for is 2 to 3 minutes. So maybe it's a combination of we're standing, counting to 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then we're going to squat, whatever your squat looks like. We're going to hold 2, 3, 4, 5. Stand back up. 3, 4, 5. Even though we're doing different exercises, we're bearing our mass. And I've been talking a lot in the channels about bone density. There's no setting. There's no program. It's about bearing your mass and bearing it frequently. And I've also been saying it's many of my chronic users, my heart users, my MS users that are using the plate for the short 2 to 3 minutes that I'm recommending, but they're using it frequently. You can use a machine multiple times a day, but it's not always a 10 to 15 minute thing. And how often you should use it should be driven by your symptoms. That was about an additional 2 to 3 minutes. We were standing and just doing a very light, starting to build the strength. The squat is also the most, like we do a squat without even thinking about it, probably 100, 200 times a day. A squat is that movement when, we're done having our breakfast. So we squat. It's called a sit to stand. And then when we sit back down, okay, guess what my next variation is? So each of these, if you're in good shape and you're more conditioned and you want to do all of these, that's fine. You're probably looking at about a 10 to 15 minute workout. But the next variation is I'm stable. I'm getting stronger. I'm not afraid of the machine. So this is one many of my PTs and my therapists will remember. You're doing this with many of your patients now. I'm still at speed 30, so I'm at a mid-speed. Work in ranges. Don't always do the same thing or your body gets used to that too. You can do this in any of the programs. You can do this in any of the speeds. It's really what feels good to you. But I prefer a closer foot placement, faster speed is smoother. And for those chronic short conditions, sessions, you're going to get a little bit more done in less time. And this isn't a big, long marathon. So the sit to stand is simply standing up, keeping those knees slightly bent when we do get here. The scarier part is sitting back down, okay? If you are unable to do that without looking like this is a really good exercise to be working on. If you're not quite able to stand back up on your own, you need to work on the quad strength, the balance a little bit. But you put your hands on the stool and you can give yourself a little support. So you may want to keep that in mind when you're selecting a stool. But if you're having trouble standing up, it's going to be even scarier trying to sit back down. So start standing and progress to this. For those of you that are ready to join me on this, then yes, we're going to stand up. We're going to hold 2, 3, and we're going to sit back down. You might only make it 1 rep. Okay, maybe that's your whole session, but you're going to feel energized doing it. If it's more fitness, no, Debbie, I got time. I want to do more exercise. The goal is getting those muscles to a point where they feel like they've done some work and you don't really want to do anymore or are unable to do anymore. When your technique starts going out the window and you're wobbling all over the place, sometimes that's a sign of fatigue. Okay? So if you're feeling comfortable with this one, you're stable. Again, 1, 2, maybe 3 minutes. If you're just doing this exercise, total time 2 to 3 minutes, guys, for these energy boosts. And if you're doing them, let's say 3 to 4 times a day, all you're doing, like the American Heart Association recommends, is, maybe I can't do long durations yet. Maybe I don't have the stamina. I'm working on it. So you can do, the half an hour, 5 times a week that they recommend, but you can break it into smaller, more digestible pieces. You know, maybe you also suffer with poor mobility or constipation or lymphatic issues. There's all kinds of reasons to use your plate more often. Today, with the topic of heart health, is one of the bigger reasons. Many of you are dealing with heart issues or have, whether you're dealing with concerns right now, many of these are good maintenance pieces. Keep that blood flowing. And again, circling back to my only contra, if you are dealing with blood clots or known high risk, you want to keep your sessions short and low in intensity. It's not you've got a vast amount of circulation that nothing can move circulation and lymph like a vibration machine, and why I'm so passionately advocating about them and why they're such an advantage over any other piece of equipment out there is they also give you the weight bearing, the bones, that long-term thing we don't think about till there's a problem. So many of you are dealing with heart health issues, but because you've been sitting and fearful of using your plate or just haven't gotten into the routine of activity yet because you think it's got to be this big scary thing, your bones are digressing because you're not stressing them out. I talked about this in my personal newsletter this week. To make your bones strong, to make your muscles strong, to make your heart strong, we need to stress our body out. Stress it out means we've got to use it. We've got to make it perform its function. And what happens with our bones, you know, if we're doing this, we're certainly getting and maintaining. But if we're doing this and we're pushing our muscles to do some work, the bones, the osteoblasts go, oh, wait a minute, guys, we got to pick up the slack here. And they start laying new bone cells to strengthen the bones for the activity you're asking it to do. Makes sense? So bone density is a longer term benefit, but regular, consistent use, which you're going to be doing, because I know you're going to use this for energy and things like I'm talking about. The bone density is really just a long-term side benefit. Okay, so the next one, as I mentioned, the American Heart Association recommends combining aerobic and resistance exercises. We've talked about weights. I'm going to get to those pretty soon here. I want you to keep in mind, do what you can. It's not about what she can do or I can do or he can do or they can do. It's being realistic with where you're starting. I don't want you discouraging yourself. This should be a pleasant experience. I'm talking 2 to 3 minutes, 2 to 3 times a day. Start moving and feeling better. And pretty soon, you're going to want to do more and progress. So for those of you that are trying to work on the lung function, the capacity, we have just got to add a little bit of movement. Some of you might feel huffing and puffing already just because, you know, strength training and resistance training is going to do that to a degree. But for those of you that are ready, we're going to do some very simple step-ups. I've done this in past sessions. Maybe you have some good tunes going. If you're comfortable standing and moving around on the plate like we did with the last exercise, this should be no problem. Now, arms. Why can't you swing your arms at the same time? The more muscles you engage, the more things you require your body to do, the more it's going to have to recruit its soldiers throughout your body and work a little harder. So maybe this is your warm-up. Maybe you want to get your heart rate elevated before you do some of the strength stuff. There's really no perfect blueprint. As I said, do something that you enjoy, and then you're going to be probably more likely to keep doing it. Okay, for those of you that are up for a little bit more challenge, a variation on this could be, you know, maybe we're doing this on the plate instead. Okay, this you're going to feel a little bit more head shake, but there's nothing wrong with that, guys. It's just something you got to get used to. It's just like driving an old truck on a bumpy gravel road. Do you phone your doctor and say, are there any side effects of my head bouncing around in the truck driving down the road? No. But as soon as you get on the machine and you feel some shake, you seem to think more is going on. You like it or you don't, okay? So if you wanted to make that a little harder, one of the top exercises that the American Heart Association also recommends is lunges. We're not going to do a lunge off the machine, but on that one, let's shift our weight and step. Slow it down a bit. Keep this foot for stability, but put all the weight on one side. Kind of like doing weight shifts. Okay? These type of exercises are going to give you the strength. They're going to give you the bone density, the movements add into the cardio. Maybe you've got a strong side. Maybe you're recovering from something on one side. Okay. Traditional lunge would look something more like this, where we're putting one foot on the plate, one foot behind. Okay. This is a good one. You know, maybe you're not ready to quite stand on the machine. Maybe you don't like the head vibes so much. I prefer weight shifts on the machine personally. I feel like I fatigue faster. I feel like my muscles are working harder. So that's just a variation. And again, any of these are 2 to 3 minutes. Energy boost. If you did want it to be more of a workout, I would suggest doing more than just one exercise. But that's a good way to get a little bit of a cardio going on. The next variation I want to share with you is simply an add-on to some of the exercises that I've already shown you. So for those of you that do not exercise for purpose regularly, most of us do not. I never stuck with anything in my life for more than 3 to 6 months. I used to be into sports. I'm 20 years into this, if that says anything. So for me personally, it began as something I could do with my bad knee. I had to lose some weight. But now, there's so many different ideas, different exercises, but there's nothing you can't do in this environment without a little bit of creativity. So I've got some weights here, and I'm just going to do a couple of demonstrations where we're going to add some mass to the equation, which is going to make our muscles work harder. It's going to make our bones get stronger. And for those of you that, it's only February 1st today, but maybe we're looking ahead. Summer bodies are built in the summer. So maybe you're working on some toning. Maybe it's just some deficiencies and you're not able to get down on the ground to do direct like upper body positions. Weights are a great way to help target. So I've got Life Pros adjustable weights. I've probably overcommitted. I've got 15 pounds aside. And the easiest way, so I want to build strength. I don't have a lot of time. I need to keep my durations short. For those of you that are dealing with chronic issues that are adding weight to even just standing, it's just going to make everything more purposeful. So you're going to get stronger because I'm currently bearing an extra 30 pounds. If you want to target the arms a little bit more specifically, hang on. Maybe I know for most ladies it's that bat wing. One of my favorite exercises to do is it's a tricep lift. We're doing like a pull like this, but to visualize how you feel it is you're lifting by the elbows, keeping those shoulders back. Okay, not like this. That's biceps. Just pull those elbows straight back. Bent over row. Sticking the girls out. Nice arch in the back. I'm not moving with my legs. If you feel comfortable and you want to add some movement, whatever works for you. Maybe you do some raises. Okay. Weights are an awesome way to fatigue you faster, make those muscles stronger faster. And like I say, it's all adding to bone density and such things. Maybe, you're focused a little bit more on cardio. You want more of a cardio session. Well, you can boost the strength too. We can do our step ups. Maybe you've got some ankle weights or a weight vest. Maybe it's just a backpack with, some sugar or some rice in it. I've already mentioned that one. Maybe the grandkids are over and they're under 20 pounds and they can piggyback you. Okay. These are all just ways. I find the consistency of using your plate. And if you give yourself this elaborate routine with a whole bunch of exercises, it can be very intimidating. I would prefer, you'll notice pretty much everything I did today was a variation of standing and squatting with some additional arm movements. And I'd like you to get very good at a couple of exercises, focus on the technique, play with the variations in how tall you're standing, distance between your feet, and you shouldn't really need a whole elaborate routine. The real key with heart health and probably any condition or benefit that you may be trying to accomplish is using it regularly and consistently. And it's very, very important if you are dealing with heart health issues to not overdo it. Overdoing it on a vibration machine 9 times out of 10 is too much time, too much intensity. Sometimes too often, but it's usually time and intensity. The slow speeds, there's a mentality out there. I don't think we'll ever get away from it, but start slow. I prefer to say start conservative. This is not a treadmill. We think I'm going to start with a slow speed and it's going to be better for me, but a slow speed on a vibration plate, if you dug into the research on this style, a lot of it is associated with destabilizing your body. And that's awesome if you're a yoga or a Pilates person and you have good stability now. But if you have poor stability, you got, advanced osteoporosis and, there's a big risk of falls. As I said, there's lots of other things you may be dealing with if you're dealing with a heart issue. So the first thing I want to do is get you stable. That would be the same for bone density. I don't want you falling and hurting yourself and scaring yourself away from using this. And the slow speeds are very much like a Bosu ball. So you combine that with a wide feet for 10 minutes, and no wonder your knee and your back and everything else is hurting. When's the last time you went for a jog around the block? That's I can't give you an equation as to 10 minutes is this. That's all marketing to a degree. But right on most of your machines, you can see this is jog. You're exposing yourself to more impact, more movement on those outer edges. So reduce the foot distance, bring up the speed to compensate for that, and start with 2 to 3 minutes. Whatever those exercises are, be realistic with what's maybe best suited for your range and your ability, and be consistent. Do it a couple, 3 times a day. Let your body tell you when it's tired, when it needs an energy boost, when it needs a break, and have tools available. Have a stool. If you've got some weights at home, sometimes just having everything ready to go is the motivation you need. And as I touched on a couple times earlier, thank you for joining me online today. This is one of the best ways. You're maybe not doing everything that I'm doing today, but I hope I've given you a couple of ideas. And most of all, I hope I've given you just a little fire under your butt that you can do this. Anybody can do this. I work with 6-month-old children that are paralyzed and they love using the vibration plate. So stop being so afraid of it. Just understand where your parameters are and focus on some exercises that you're comfortable starting with. Just get started. If you have any questions, I'm going to get to questions here shortly, but if you're seeing this on a recorded basis and you have something specific you want to ask me, tag me at Debby with a Y. I get a lot of notifications in a day, and if it's just a comment, I may not see it, quite frankly. I'm sitting here rambling, looking for my spectacles. So I hope those were some good ideas for you. The big key with heart health and being, I don't like to call it exercise, because exercise, quite frankly, for many of the users I work with is not it's not possible. We're not there yet. Start moving and feeling better. Get that blood flowing better. Get those energy levels up. Get the stability going, and you'll gain the confidence and the ability to progress to some of the exercises that we're supposed to be doing. So I hope that makes sense for you today. Hi, Vicki. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoy a Saturday for a change, something different. February just doesn't have the days that some of the months do. I've got so many bar height stools around this place, I could open my own store. So yes, today was ideas. There's no perfect workout if you're dealing with heart health, and some of the ideas that you really on a person, on an individual basis, if you're working with a PT, a care provider of some kind, and they have given you exercises that you're supposed to be doing, some stretches perhaps, a vibration plate is a great way to do those exercises. There's always a way to modify an exercise, but it's going to dramatically reduce the amount of time that you need to spend doing the exercise. If you're dealing with problematic joints, arthritis, if there's anything going on, which typically there's never one thing. Most people are dealing with a couple of different issues, and that's where you really just got to be realistic in what type of exercises you should be doing. Same goes if there's exercises you're supposed to not be doing. I don't talk about this too often in my heart health groups, but when I'm dealing with spine issues and things like that, you want to make sure that, sometimes there's certain stretches or exercises that your PTs do not want you doing. Common sense would say, well, then don't do them on the vibration plate. The vibration plate, to a degree, offers a different realm of safety and efficiency than just doing traditional body weight exercises on the floor. because they reduce the amount of time that you have to spend doing them. If you can reduce time, you're reducing exposure to those joints and other things. So that's how it expedites it. If you really want to understand the benefits of vibration plates and the heart health benefits that it provides, instead of looking for vibration plates, look at the benefits online associated with gravity. How does gravity it plays a really big role in our cardiovascular health. And if you understand its gravity's role in our health, a vibration plate superficially increases our exposure to gravity through these little movements. We're not going to get hung up in numbers about that, but for the same, that's why we don't need to do the exercise. Kind of like a hack on our cardiovascular system, if you will. So keep those durations short, keep them purposeful, build up the energy. And what you'll find probably pretty quickly within a week or two, not only is the energy levels better, but they're sticking around. So be cautious for the first week or two. Don't go do a whole bunch of housework and chores and cleaning just because you feel like you can. The number one phone call I get after, and it is a heart health issue, but it's anybody dealing with fatigue or weakness issue. This machine gives you power. It gives you strength. It gives you stamina. And you know, my mom's going to do all this laundry and cooking, and then they crash later and they blame it on the machine, assuming, oh, I did too much, or I did. So, you know, for the first couple of weeks, if you're in a recovery situation, it really does a good job in those short sessions of giving you energy. Enjoy it. Don't abuse it just yet. Give it a couple of weeks of regular daily use, couple times a day. If the symptoms are severe, if you're really dying, you just need some energy and you got to go somewhere, take advantage of this tool and build from there. After a couple of weeks, you'll start noticing the energy reserves in the bank a little better. And you probably will also find a correlation with how often you need to use the machine. You'll need to use it less often because the benefits are sticking around longer. So I hope that's been helpful. And if you Google on Life Pro's pages, I think this is my 4th year that I've done an American Heart Health session. I know Amber and Roseanne have done some as well. I will circle back and drop some links in the feed here. I do have my own personal live coming up on YouTube here at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as well. If any of you are interested in joining me, I will drop that link for you now. And there are some new deals, some new sales, all kinds of stuff going on with Life Pro. I have dropped also in the feed my list of Life Pro sessions. So if there's anything else that you're looking for, you want some more sessions, you want to look at those contraindications, you'll see information in other sessions I've done on those. I also put in, for those of you that might have joined later, there is a heart healthy care tip sheet. A lot of the references I was talking about today came from that source. There's several really cool sheets in there, all different types of ideas. Sometimes you just need, you know, if you've been dealing with these conditions for quite some time, sometimes you just need to brush off, you know, what you've been doing. We get stagnant because we are very much creatures of habit. So sometimes it's, you know, maybe it's just changing your settings, or maybe you're adding some weights. You know, keep progressing conservatively. And if you are stuck, reach back out to me, of course, at any time. Tag me at Debby with a Y. If you think of something after the fact, maybe I've left your head spinning, or maybe you're watching this on a recorded basis. So it's Saturday. I challenge those of you out there, whether you've got a heart issue or not, to try some short 2 to 3 minute sessions. Try my approach with closer feed and a little bit of a faster speed. I go into detail in oscillating only because it is a unique feature to oscillating movement. On other modes, the amount of movement is fixed. You can't really manipulate it. So that is one of the huge advantages that you have with oscillating movement. When you're wide, you're moving more. When you're close, you're moving less. And you can customize for a very personal experience for you if you're supporting someone else. And of course, in complement with whatever exercise it is that you're working on at the time. So enjoy your weekend. I have also, who else is here? I have Vicky. I also have Lori. Lori, I'm not sure if you're just joining me, but There isn't a cookie cutter approach in my world. I've specialized in these machines for quite some time, and settings are very universal. A lot of the benefits you're going to receive on a vibration plate are universal. Bone density is a weight bearing thing. It's not a vibration machine thing. It just gets more done in less time. Oscillating movement, I recommended today from a setting standpoint, starting with your feet hip width apart or closer, and a manual speed of 30 in oscillating was the speed I was working on. I always recommend starting, especially if you're dealing with acute or chronic issues, just try it as a variation, a faster speed with a closer foot or hand placement. And, it really boils down to what feels good for you. It doesn't matter what I think or what Amber thinks or Roseanne. You're at home on your own in your living room. So work with what feels comfortable for you. Just make sure, that you're adhering to short time frames for the chronic stuff. And if you're looking for those fitness gains, and you're conditioned and you're working, make sure you're putting in the work. The machine's not going to do all the work for you. So do the right positions, push yourself, add those weights. For those of you that do regular training now, you know how to push yourself. You know the difference between fatigue and not having fatigue. One of the greatest advantages of doing your exercises on a vibration plate is how it expedites recovery. So for my gym goers, you're not going to feel as sore the next day. And that doesn't mean that you weren't working, and that doesn't mean that the machine wasn't doing its part, but because it's so effective at boosting a rush of circulation and lymphatic movement, it's expediting the recovery to a degree while you're doing the exercises. So I could do this all day long. Pat says, thank you. Love this. Again, if you're more conditioned, you could try all of the variations I showed you today. Ideally, you're picking 2 to 3 minutes, whatever combination I showed you today, and try that for the next few days as a couple of spot treatments when you're feeling down and fatigued, when you just don't wanna, when you got somewhere you gotta be and you just want to have some reserves. Try your machine for a few minutes. Start tackling those heart health goals in a realistic way. Break them into smaller, more digestible sessions instead of the big, I got to do my workout, and it become this big mental game. So have some fun with it. Let me know how you guys make out. I've dropped my live that I will be starting here in 15 minutes. So I'm going to leave you to the rest of your day and stop rambling. If you're trying to drop me questions and I'm not answering, the feed on my end doesn't bring questions from all the sources I'm actually live in today. So if you have dropped me a question, I will go back in later this afternoon and make sure that I haven't missed any. Know that it's not you. Maybe you're joining me from the VIP group or somewhere I've shared this within my own channels. So if you do have a question, I will get to it by the end of today. Thanks again so much for joining me today, guys. Have a great start to February and a great weekend. It's Heart Month. Love yourself and love your vibe. Have a great rest of the day.